Sometimes the smallest things carry the biggest messages, even a single feather. In a quiet fishing village in the Philippines, 8-year-old Alina sits barefoot by the shore, holding an old photograph of her late mother. The waves whisper softly, and the sun paints gold across the sky. Every evening, Alina waits there, believing the wind carries her mother's voice. But this evening, something different happens. A pure white feather floats down from the sky and lands right beside her. Alina picks it up, eyes wide. "Mama, is that you?" she whispers. The soft hum of the ocean drifted through the open window of a small bamboo house, standing on the edge of a quiet fishing village in the Philippines. Inside, the dim light of a kerosene lamp flickered across the walls, casting long shadows over the simple wooden table where 8-year-old Alina sat with her father, Ramon. The smell of freshly cooked rice filled the air, mixed with the faint scent of salt from the sea. Every evening was the same. Ramon would come home from the shore, his shirt soaked with sweat and seawater, his hands rough from pulling nets all day. He'd sit across from Alina, tired but grateful for what little food they had. And every evening before they began eating, Alina would quietly set an extra plate at the table, one that remained untouched. Ramon watched her do it again that night, his weary eyes softening. "Anak," he said gently, using the Filipino word for child. "You don't have to set that plate anymore." Alina paused, her small hands holding a spoon and bowl. She looked at the empty chair beside her, the one her mother used to fill with laughter, songs, and stories about angels who watched over the sea. "I know, Papa," she replied softly. "But maybe she's still hungry in heaven. Maybe she misses dinner with us." Ramon lowered his head. He didn't have the heart to stop her. Since Alina's mother, Liza, had passed away a year ago, the house had grown painfully quiet. The laughter that once echoed through its walls had been replaced by the sound of waves and the ticking of time. Alina, once full of energy, now spoke mostly in whispers. Her world had become smaller, revolving around memories and hope. After dinner, Alina carried her mother's old photograph to the porch. The picture was fading, but she could still see the kindness in her mother's eyes and the warmth of her smile. Alina traced her mother's face with her finger and whispered, "Mama, I did good in school today. I helped my teacher clean the classroom. I think you'd be proud." Ramon watched her from the doorway, his chest tightening. He had tried to be strong for her, to fill both roles, father and mother, but he knew nothing could replace the softness his wife had brought into their lives. He remembered how Liza used to sing to Alina before bedtime, her voice carrying through the night like a gentle lullaby. Now it was Alina who hummed those same songs to herself, her small voice trembling but determined not to forget. That night before sleeping, Alina knelt beside her bed and prayed. "Dear God," she said softly, eyes closed, "please tell Mama I love her. And if she can see me, can she send me a sign, just so I know she's still with me?" Outside, the wind rustled through the palm trees, and somewhere beyond the stars, the echo of a mother's love lingered, unseen, but never gone. The morning began like any other in the quiet village by the sea. The sun shimmered over the horizon, painting the water in hues of orange and gold. Alina stood barefoot on the sand, waving at her father as he pushed his small wooden boat into the water. The smell of salt and fish filled the air. Ramon turned back to smile at her, lifting his hand high. "Be good today, Anak," he called out. "I'll bring home some fish for dinner." Alina nodded, clutching the small seashell necklace her mother had once made for her. "Come back before sunset, Papa," she shouted. He laughed softly and rowed away, the sound of the oars fading into the distance. By afternoon, the sky began to change. The once clear horizon turned gray, clouds gathering low and heavy. The gentle waves became restless, crashing harder against the shore. The older fishermen began to hurry home, pulling their boats to safety. But Ramon's boat was still out there, too far to see. Alina stood at the edge of the water, her heart tightening with every gust of wind. "Papa?" she whispered, scanning the darkening horizon. The first raindrops began to fall, light at first, then faster, heavier, until the entire sky broke open. The storm arrived suddenly, fierce and unrelenting. Inside their bamboo house, the wind howled through the cracks. The walls shuddered as rain hammered the roof. Alina sat near the window, hugging her knees, staring out into the chaos. Her mother's photograph rested beside her, the glass fogged from her breath. She whispered, "Mama, please protect him. Please bring Papa home." The hours crawled by. The oil lamp flickered weakly as the storm raged on. Lightning flashed across the sea, illuminating the waves like monstrous shadows. Alina pressed her palms together, trembling. "Please, God, don't take him too," she prayed. And then through the thick curtain of rain she saw something, a faint shimmer drifting down from the sky. She blinked, thinking her eyes were playing tricks on her, but it was real. A single white feather floated through the open window carried by the storm. It landed softly in her small hand, untouched by water, glowing faintly against the dim light. Alina stared at it, her breath catching. She felt warmth in her chest, a quiet, gentle calm amidst the thunder. Tears filled her eyes as she whispered, "Mama, is this from you?" She held the feather tightly against her heart, closing her eyes. For the first time that night she stopped shaking. The storm continued to roar outside, but inside a strange peace settled over her. Hours later, exhaustion overcame her. She fell asleep by the window, still clutching the feather. Outside, the rain began to ease and the clouds slowly drifted away. The sea quieted once more, as if nature itself had heard a child's prayer. Somewhere out on the ocean, a faint light glowed, and a small fishing boat, battered but still afloat, began its journey home. The first light of morning crept through the cracks in the bamboo walls, painting soft streaks of gold across the small room. The storm had finally passed. The world outside was quiet again, too quiet. Alina stirred on the floor, her small fingers still curled around the white feather she had held all night. Her eyelids fluttered open, heavy with sleep and tears. For a moment she didn't remember. Then, it all came rushing back. The storm, the wind, the fear, and the feather that had drifted into her hands like a whisper from heaven. She sat up quickly and looked toward the sea through the open window. The horizon was calm now, glowing pink and orange, but her father's boat was nowhere in sight. Her heart sank. She ran outside barefoot, the sand still damp beneath her feet. "Papa!" she shouted toward the endless stretch of water. Only the sound of the waves answered her. The village was beginning to stir, fishermen checking their nets, mothers sweeping porches, children chasing stray chickens through puddles. One of the older fishermen, Mang Ernesto, saw her standing by the shore. "Alina," he called softly, "your father hasn't come back yet?" She shook her head, clutching the feather tightly. "Not yet, but he will." Mang Ernesto's eyes were kind but sad. "The sea was cruel last night. But have faith, Anna. Sometimes faith is the only thing stronger than the storm." Alina nodded silently. She sat on the sand, hugging her knees, watching the waves roll in and out. The feather glowed faintly in her palm whenever the sun touched it. She remembered her mother's words from long ago. "Even when you can't see me, my love will always find its way to you." Hours passed slowly. Then, just as the sun climbed higher, something appeared far on the horizon. A small speck moving toward the shore. Alina stood up, her breath catching in her throat. Could it be? She squinted against the light. The speck grew larger, taking shape. A wooden boat tilting slightly but upright. Her heart began to race. She ran into the water up to her knees, waving both hands. "Papa, Papa, it's me." As the boat drifted closer, she saw him, her father, weak, soaked, his clothes torn, but alive. He was rowing slowly, each stroke heavy but determined. When he finally reached the shore, Alina ran forward and threw her arms around him, tears streaming down her face. "I thought I lost you," she sobbed. Ramon held her close, his voice trembling. "The storm took me far, Anak. I couldn't see the way back. But then I saw a white bird while it kept circling my boat, leading me toward the light. I followed it, and somehow, I found the shore." Alina looked at the feather still in her hand. "Mama sent it," she whispered. "She showed you the way home." Ramon looked down at the feather, eyes glistening. For a long moment, neither spoke. The sea shimmered quietly before them, calm, forgiving, alive. And in that golden morning light, both father and daughter knew love could cross any distance, even from heaven. Days turned into weeks, and life in the small coastal village slowly returned to its rhythm. The storm had left its scars, broken boats, damaged nets, and roofs patched with old tarps. But gratitude filled the air. Ramon worked tirelessly to rebuild, often glancing at his daughter with quiet awe. He knew that something had changed in her since that night. Alina now carried the white feather with her everywhere. She had placed it inside a tiny glass bottle tied to a thin piece of thread, wearing it around her neck like a treasure. It rested close to her heart, catching the sunlight whenever she moved. The villagers often smiled when they saw it, but none of them truly knew what it meant to her. Every morning, before school, she would hold the bottle and whisper, "Thank you, Mama, please help me do good things today." And somehow, each day seemed to bring her a new chance to live out her mother's kindness. One afternoon, Alina was walking home when she saw a small boy sitting by the dock crying softly. His name was Jun, the youngest son of another fisherman. His wooden toy boat had broken apart in the tide. Alina knelt beside him, her voice gentle. "Don't cry, Jun, I can fix it." She gathered some string and pieces of driftwood, carefully tying them together. When she handed the repaired boat back, Jun's tear-streaked face lit up with a shy smile. "Thank you," he whispered. As he ran off to play, Alina felt a soft breeze brush against her cheek. The feather inside her bottle shimmered faintly in the light. Another day, she noticed an elderly woman struggling to carry her basket of laundry up the hill. Without hesitation, Alina rushed to help. Together, they carried the heavy load to the woman's porch. "You're an angel child," the woman said. "Your mother must be proud." Alina smiled, her eyes glistening. "She is," she whispered. From that day on, people in the village began to notice how often the little girl appeared wherever kindness was needed, helping at the market, comforting a crying child, or sharing her lunch with classmates who had none. She didn't have much to give, but what she gave came from a heart full of love. Sometimes, when the evening wind swept across the village, Alina would feel it again, that gentle warmth, almost like a soft embrace. The feather would glow faintly, and she would close her eyes, knowing what it meant. It was her mother's way of saying she was there, watching, proud of the compassion her daughter carried into the world. Ramon saw the change too. He would watch Alina helping others and think, she has her mother's heart. He no longer saw the feather as a symbol of loss, but of connection, proof that love never truly disappears. Every act of kindness seemed to breathe new life into their home, as though Liza's spirit had returned through Alina's small, generous hands. And as the sun set over the sea each night, the feather caught the last light of day, glowing softly, a reminder that love, when shared, becomes eternal. The sky above the village blazed with the colors of dusk, soft pinks melting into orange and gold, the sea mirroring the heavens in quiet splendor. It was Alina's favorite time of day, the moment when the world seemed to hold its breath before night arrived. She walked along the shore barefoot, the cool sand slipping between her toes, her small bottle with the white feather swinging gently against her chest. It had been months since the storm, and though her days were now filled with laughter, a small ache still lived quietly in her heart, the ache of missing her mother's touch. But lately that ache felt lighter. She had come to understand that love could live on in many forms, in the people we help, in the smiles we bring, and even in the quiet moments when the heart remembers. Alina sat down on a smooth rock near the water's edge, hugging her knees as the waves lapped softly at her feet. The air smelled of salt and flowers drifting from the hills behind the village. She took the tiny bottle from around her neck and opened it carefully. The feather, still as white as the day it fell from the sky, rested in her palm. "Mama," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I'm not lonely anymore. You showed me that love doesn't disappear. It grows. Every time I help someone, I feel you smiling." The evening breeze began to stir, gentle at first, then stronger, swirling around her. Alina closed her eyes and lifted her face toward the wind. The feather in her hand trembled, then lifted slowly into the air. It floated upward, spinning softly, glowing in the golden light. Alina gasped, her heart pounding, but she didn't reach for it. She simply watched. The feather danced in the air above her, circling once, twice, then drifting lower, brushing against her cheek with the softness of a mother's hand. And in that instant, she felt it, warmth enveloping her shoulders, a presence wrapping around her like a familiar embrace. It wasn't just the wind. It was love, pure, weightless, eternal. Tears filled her eyes, but she was smiling. "Thank you, Mama," she whispered, "for never leaving me." Ramon stood a few feet behind her, watching quietly. He had come to find her for dinner, but seeing her there, bathed in sunset light, her hair dancing in the wind, he didn't speak. He simply placed his weathered hand over his heart, understanding something deeper than words could ever explain. As the last light of day faded into the horizon, the feather rose one final time and drifted toward the sea. Carried away by the wind, Alina watched it disappear into the glowing sky. She didn't feel sad. She felt full of love, full of peace. That night, as the stars began to shine, Alina whispered a prayer before bed. "Mama, I'll keep giving the hugs you can't. I'll keep loving like you taught me." And as she drifted to sleep, a soft breeze slipped through the window, warm, gentle, and full of grace, like a hug from heaven.